So now let's go to the brass tacks. Renovation. First, we'll talk about the building envelope and fenestration. Why? Because first, the passive systems. Let's see if we can block the heat coming to the building. Let's see if we can let light into the building. And let's see if we can moderate the air moving through the building. Second, the most expensive part of operating a building normally is the air conditioning. That's why I put it second. Let's look at that air conditioning and ventilation of the building. Third, lighting also consumes the second most important aspect of the electricity use in a building. Third is water. Water resource, you actually spend water in the building. Fifth are the materials. And last, let's touch a little bit about renewable energies. If you're going to already retrofit your building, look at those options. Okay, building envelope fenestration. I mentioned earlier, no? Nice diagram. Keep the heat out, red arrows. Let the daylight in, the yellow arrows. And moderate the air. Whether if it's good, bring it in. If it's bad, don't bring it in. Let us say you have a large part of your building on the west. Classic case. Of course, the sun is coming in. Three options. You block the heat before the building envelope. You block the heat on the building envelope. Or you block the heat after the building envelope. Three options. So, first option. To reduce solar gain on the west, you can put some sort of sunshade baffles or actually a secondary wall outside your existing building so that the heat is blocked off here and it doesn't reach that inner surface. Already by that, with an air gap there. With that solution, you're actually making sure that the heat doesn't enter your building from the west. Of course, in the window itself, there are many other expensive, but they're expensive, like double glazing and all sorts of low-E glass. No? If you have to work it inside, it's also possible. Like for example, you have a facade which you really cannot touch anymore. Then work inside. Maybe put a secondary skin there, maybe with an air gap. Of course, you might be saying already, somebody mentioned it, you're reducing your interior space. Yes, you are reducing your interior space, maybe about 110 millimeters or 150 millimeters. But that effort is done in order to make sure that the heat doesn't come in. No? The roof is a very interesting area also because that's where a lot of heat comes in. So if you can insulate your roof deck or roof from above, better. But if you have no choice, put the insulation below. In other words, be conscious of the fact that the heat is coming on the west side and the heat is coming from above. And therefore, if you want to reduce heat entering the building envelope, try to cut it off before it gets to the inside. What about the north and the south? Remember I said the north is interesting because you can have floor-to-ceiling windows, wall-to-wall ceilings, which can bring light in. So for example, if you have the possibility, increase the window size on the north, if it is possible. If you're going to retrofit and knock out all the walls anyway, look at that option. There's an interesting thing called a light shelf. Since if you're going to knock it all the way up, you really need only this window for the people in the room. But then you have this other space of light which is above. You can actually put what is known as a light shelf so that the light coming in here can bounce in deeper into the building. Again, that strategy is in order to bring in natural daylight in as deep as possible to the building so that you do not need to turn on the lights all the time during the day. Rule of thumb. Architects are lazy. We don't like to compute, so I picked up this rule of thumb. Natural light, daylight, this is not direct sunlight, this natural daylight will enter into a room space 2.5 times the height of your opening. Very simple formula. All you do is measure that height. So for example, normally a height of a floor-to-ceiling window is about 2.4, assuming a floor-to-floor height of 3 meters and a beam depth of 600 millimeters. That's 2.4. That will throw light into about 6 meters, more or less, plus or minus. So that's a very interesting piece of information because any space beyond 6 meters in the depth of a room will most likely need artificial light. As I mentioned earlier, there are several windows, no? So there are windows like single glazing, which have 88% transmission, double glazing, triple glazing, and low-key glass. There's even an interesting development. They have a small fabric in between two panels, which actually block the light. But these are extremely expensive, and actually you have to import them. Ayala used low-key glass for one of their buildings there in the valley, which they had to bring in from the US. It's not available in the Philippines. If you are going to retrofit your building anyway, introduce this concept of universal design. Universal design is also a very interesting green strategy because it makes a building usable by almost all people. Look at this chart here first. See this guy here? He's a normal guy. But the normal guys are only 50% of the population in the world. The other 50% are composed of big guys who have to carry lots of bags, people who wobble, people who need canes, people who probably have no hands, wheelchair people, people with very poor eyesight, and mothers carrying children. What is this all about? Design standards are based on this guy. Universal design means, why not design for everybody, or at least most people? Okay? So for example, entrance. Why do we have to have steps in the front and have that ramp somewhere there in the farthest corner in which the handicapped guy has to go all the way to the other end of the building just to get up? And he's the one who suffers most, no? Why can't you let the other people walk there and have the handicap go straight into the building, right? I mean, he's the guy who's suffering, no? So, universal design means, let's come up with an entrance which can adjust to almost all sorts of people. So, concept one, same level entrance. Or for example, instead of cylindrical lock sets, why not use lever type lock sets? If you cannot turn, maybe you can even use your elbow. No? In other words, these are concepts which I think if you're going to retrofit your building, try to look into that. No? I will not talk about it. This is a whole lecture of mine about universal design. If you want, do a Google search on universal design and you'll find out many information there. Because it's interesting when you retrofit, how to actually make your building usable by majority of people. That is a great strategy because it can be used by more people.